Burning Rubber is social. Follow us on X at twitter.com/BRR_radio. Now back to more Burning Rubber.
And it's another Fast Lab. YouTube, Instagram, all the socials everywhere and anywhere you can think of. Producer Wayne, Andy DeLay, NASCAR chef John Dick, Zachary Murders are off camera this week for some weird reason. The studio got a little too cold, Andy, and the cameras were iced over this morning.
I was going to say, it's really iced over with all the snow on the roof of your place, man. That's what it is.
Tell me about it. Yeah, the studio. I walked into the studio this morning, unlocked the doors and everything like that, and holy crap, it was cold in here. So we had to get the heat going and everything like that because, when I saw a real feel of 6 degrees this morning, I'm like, no, thank you.
That's right, man. We got a lot of cool stuff. We got the Rolex 24 coming down the pike this weekend. We got some neat news about that. Folks finding rides everywhere here and there. Going to talk about the winner of the Chili Bowl, of course.
The Chili Bowl Nationals, oh boy.
Heck yeah, man. So let's kick this thing off, buddy.
You know it, brother. We got to get it going in high style this morning here. So, headlines among headlines for you before we get into the big news about the Chili Bowl and the Rolex 24 for this weekend coming up here. Junior Motorsports has officially announced that a dream is coming true, Andy. And everybody's probably wondering, what's that dream that Junior be talking about? That would be the fact that they are going to field a cup car for the Daytona 500 coming up in February, and that being one Justin Allgaier that is going to be piloting that car for Junior Motorsports in the NASCAR Cup Series. You heard that right. Cup Series, baby. And so that is some huge news for Dale Earnhardt Jr., and honestly, it couldn't have come at a better time. It's 2025. It's the 76th year that NASCAR has been around. I mean, hey, we had 75 last year with what is 75 anymore? Is it platinum or is it silver or gold or something?
It's one more than 74.
I'm talking about as far as like classes of like stones, you dolt. But Jesus, I swear he's working on getting Muttleyed early this morning, folks.
Oh Lord.
But either which way, 76 years in NASCAR. Dale Sr. did it with DEI. Now Dale Jr. is getting to do it with JRM. Could not be prouder of Dale Earnhardt Jr. for what he is accomplishing this year in the NASCAR Cup Series. It might just be one race, but that one race can lead to more.
Hopefully it's one race. Allgaier's got to race his way into this thing. He's going to only have, out of everyone in there, there's only 4 open spots for folks to make.
Folks, if you're wondering what we're talking about when we had Mike Wallace on the show last week. We've got some news and updates to that we want to share with you here towards the end of this week's Fast Lap. But some other quick headlines to lead into here real quick. Garrett Smithley has officially been tabbed to pilot the Garage 66 Cup Series entry in the February 2nd Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. And Garrett's a good friend of the show, good friend of mine. I'm friends with his dad, RK. And actually, too, RK has been out fighting the fires out in L.A.
Really?
with everything going on. Yeah, he is. He's one of the pilots that flies those big almost like C-30s over those big water tankers. Yeah, so he's been doing all that over in L.A. So we want to send a big shout out to RK as well too. We're proud of you, brother, for everything you're doing to help those folks out in Los Angeles. But again, Garrett Smithley gets himself a ride at Garage 66 for the Clash coming up here in just a couple of short weeks' time. Speaking of Garage 66 as well, it is no longer MBM Motorsports. Carl Long has officially rebranded MBM to now be Garage 66 for the 2025 Cup Series campaign. So Motorsports Business Management has been around, obviously, for many years.
A long time.
And I mean, God knows, I would probably say, I would think about 20 to 25 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he kicked that off right after he was running the Cup Series for Manson Motorsports back in the day. So yeah,
and that would have been 97, 98, somewhere around in there.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And so it's definitely been around for quite a long time. Other headlines that we're going to touch on here real quick, and quick, fast, and in a hurry here. That's why we call it a fast lap. And 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Jimmy Johnson has officially announced his plans for 2025, and that is going to include a run or an attempt to run in this year's Daytona 500 as well as the Coca-Cola 600.
That's good. Good to see Jimmy doing that.
Speaking of other JRM news, Andy, Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen. Everybody's wondering what's going on with Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG, for the 2025 season. He, along with Ross Chastain, have officially been tapped to make a combined 9 NASCAR Xfinity Series starts aboard the number 9 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet.
That's it, man. Junior Motorsports really providing some really cool stuff this year for a lot of up-and-coming drivers, and plus some old-school stuff like Justin Allgaier, who won the championship in the Xfinity Series last year. So,
yep, and seeing him going to the 500 like we were talking about a little bit ago,
yep,
some really, really good stuff indubitably so.
Interestingly enough, though, Junior Motorsports is switching up which car they're using for part-time drivers. Last year it was the 8, now we're using the 9.
Yep, and the 9 was Allgaier's car last season, too.
Isn't Sammy Smith going to be driving the 8?
Yeah, Sammy Smith's got the 8 car this year. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, he's got a full-time ride in that number 8 car. All right, so the big topics of discussion for this week, which obviously we got the headlines in quick, fast, and in a hurry for everybody. The 2 big stories we want to touch on. The Chili Bowl happened this past weekend out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And, Andy, you were telling me about this one. I'd remembered hearing who won it, but you had to remind me here. It was, who was it again? I do believe his name was
Kyle Larson, baby.
Young Money. Young Money getting out there and getting it done. And
Larson getting himself his 3rd Golden Driller, and he had to almost wreck the car and ride it off the wall a couple times to get it.
Yep. And you know what's funny is I was actually following Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s niece, or I think it's his niece. It's Kelly's daughter, whose brother was also out there racing in the shootout this weekend as well. And apparently, Andy, there's some controversy as to when cautions flew this past weekend at the Chili Bowl and the Tulsa shootout. So.
Cautions, and then you got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. acting like a moron.
Well, that's nothing new.
It's true, but he was out. He wrecks this kid Logan Seavey after the checkered flags.
Yeah, but yeah, the fact that he wrecked Logan Seavey there at the checkers, after the checkers, there's no call for that. The race is over. It's done. If you're going to be mad at somebody, do it off the track and on pit road or in a garage area. Don't do that crap on the track, because with as tight a course as they use for the Chili Bowl Nationals, there's no room for mistake.
If I was Logan Seavey, I would just be wishing that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was waiting for me by my hauler, like he did for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, that would be rather entertaining to see. But Andy, you mentioned too that there's a couple of drivers that are going to be running the Rolex 24 this weekend coming up at Daytona International Raceway, and one of those being SVG himself, Shane Van Gisbergen. So we're going to be on the lookout to see what SVG can do in the Rolex 24 this weekend here. But all right, now the topic we want to get to here, folks, this week, and I'm just going to be completely honest here. We had him on a couple of weeks ago here talking about his run coming up or what we thought was going to be his run coming up for the Daytona 500, that being one Mike Wallace. And I'm going to say it just as honest as I can. Mike Wallace got fucked, literally.
He did.
Like there was no reason, in my opinion, to disqualify him from running in the Cup Series, and NASCAR's just being an asshole.
Hold on. Well, what's that?
I think I don't want to just go start throwing out like saying that NASCAR just absolutely screwed the man over. I mean, looking at Racing Reference, you see he hasn't really touched a super speedway in like 10 years. Mm-hmm. He hasn't been in a NASCAR stock car in quite a few years, actually, as well, about 5 years at least. I can see where NASCAR was going with not allowing him to compete in the Daytona 500. And
no, I'm going to cut you off, buddy. NASCAR was going the wrong way. He had already gotten a verbal from NASCAR. Mm-hmm. Their VP called them, said, "Hey, can't wait to see you at the track. Everything's going great." And then they turned around and they basically gave him a Jeremy Mayfield You're done, buddy. For what reason, I don't know. Could be the reason you're talking about. I know it went through my head that he has not been in one of the new one of the new cars. But hey, listen, drafting's drafting. The guy's done it a million times.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you know,
I'll tell
guys, I agree with a little bit of what everybody's saying, but I agree with what Andy says. Yeah, he hadn't been in the car in a while, but you don't tell the guy so they can get a
Right.
car prepared and he go out and make statements and then turn around. That
Yep.
to me was unprofessional.
Yeah,
Hey, MBM Motorsports or
Garage
Team
66 now.
66, Rod 66, they took it in the shorts, man. They prepped this car. And I'm sure they had some money, so Mike had to put some up front.
Yeah.
But still, they prepped a car for the Daytona 500 that they're not going to have a driver for unless someone ponies up
Absolutely.
and that's qualified to run a super speedway. NASCAR, shame on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Virtually what they did to him, they gave him the double-barreled, non-family friendly. I'll put it that way.
Yep.
And but either which way here, actually, you know what? I'm due to call Mike this week anyway and follow up with him on a couple of things. So what I'm going to do, folks, I'm going to find out the real reason why NASCAR denied him, and coming from the horse's mouth, more or less. And we're going to have that information for you coming up on next week's Fast Lap. Actually, more than just next week's Fast Lap, because as of next Monday, after the Rolex 24 Daytona, we're going to be hitting you with 30 minutes of hard-hitting news, baby.
That's right. We're going to be a podcast, and we're going to be all kinds of new stuff. We're going to be having some little things thrown out all week. We'll be back with the NASCAR chef John Dick's recipes once a week.
Yep.
And things kicking off in a new way here in Burning Rubber Radio Land.
Yep, 2025 is the year of the podcast, and it's going to be a good thing. I got a good feeling about it here. But with that said, folks, we have got to wrap ourselves up here for another Fast Lap on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all over the place. And with that being said, I'm producer Wayne. That's Andy DeLay, John Dix, and Zachary Mertz. You heard them in the background. And we will see y'all again on Monday for another edition of Burning Rubber Radio.
Rubber, baby.